Now Taxes is 100% free when you file in the TurboTax app if you didn't file with us last year.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, just do your own taxes in the app by 2/18.
What if I have lots of forms?
All good, all 100% free.
What if I had 3 jobs?
Still 100% free.
What if I once saw Bigfoot?
That has nothing to do with taxes, so still 100% free.
Now that's what I'm talking about.
Now this is Taxes. See if you qualify in the TurboTax app. Excludes TurboTax Live, must start and file in app by 2/18.
The best late-night conservative talk show in America, Sackheads Radio. And listen, there are no people better on the air to give you the best in conservative talk than Sackhead Sean and Sackhead Clint. And we're working on the immigration papers for a certain other guy who happens to work here, too. For those who are tuning in around the world to the best late-night conservative talk, Sackheads Radio.
Sack News. Sack News.
Radio.
Sack News. Sack News.
Radio.
Sack.
The best late-night conservative talk show in America. In America.
In America.
Into the silo.
And in this web was a large, I'm pretty sure it was the biggest spider I've ever seen.
And welcome to the Sackheads Radio Show.
Thank you.
Live on the SHR Media Network. Thank you all so much for joining us
You're welcome.
on this beautiful February the 17th evening, 2016. You nothing to say to that, jackass?
No, I figured you were thanking me for being here at first, and then you were talking to our audience. I was giving them a chance to respond.
We're, of course, live on the SHR.
Who's this
Media-
jackass Sackhead Sean in the chat room? Oh, good evening! Exclamation points everywhere.
Yeah, sorry. I actually enjoy the people who listen to our show, unlike you.
I enjoy them. I
Uh-huh.
just don't want to interact with them.
I just don't want to talk. Like, that makes me a bad person. 'Cause
I
don't-
know, right? Like that. Yeah, I'm the jerk.
Yeah. No, I mean, actually,
Actually,
yeah, you kind of are.
which is weird because most people actually listen to us and think that you're the jerk.
I get it all the time.
We've talked about this
All
before.
the time. All the time. We get a great show.
And they're right.
And oh, aren't you just funny? We have a great show. Lots to talk about this evening. It's thank goodness it was another boring week in the news.
I know.
I don't like to really be a go-getter on this show, so the fact that there was nothing going on is always a nice thing.
It's perfect because then it gives us a chance to kind of sit back and talk about nothing.
Nothing
Which
whatsoever.
which is perfect. Oh, we can talk about the young lady at dinner that told us to get our ass over here, which was...
Actually, what she said is, you get your ass over here.
Right.
Which was
right.
shocking, seeing how she was the employee.
Exactly. And this true story, she actually was.
And it was a place, and I won't say what it was.
We don't need to say what it was. But
Put
what
it
she was
this way.
trying to
if
say...
somebody made a sandwich of compressed raw meat, and they would say, like, the Sultan, or something like that,
the Sultan of salted compressed meat.
then they may wear a crown, is all I'm saying. So we're getting ready in pre-show tradition. We're running a little late, so we decided to go quick.
Fortunately, we had everything nailed down before that.
We did. And so we go to Burger King.
Let's eat healthy tonight. There
Yeah,
was like
let's-
tomatoes and lettuce on those things.
Mine didn't have that. But
Right.
So
you got luck. Yeah,
and what
can I
they
get
would do
quadruple
is,
cheese?
can I get a 4
And
meat
nothing green.
sandwich with nothing? If anything green touches that, I'll throw it out.
Right.
But they're in the process of transitioning to new drink machines, soda machines.
Right.
So she said, we do have limited soda for the rest of the evening. I apologize, blah, 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 blah. So we were like, oh, no big deal. And she was very sweet. She was actually, we say all the time, when we go to that Burger King, it has the best customer service.
The best customer service, hands down.
Yeah, absolutely. And they tolerate us well. And they're kind of used to seeing our faces at times. So as we're walking over there, all of a sudden we both hear, you get your ass over here. From the girl who just sold the stuff to her, who's sweet and nice.
Right.
And I looked
Who
at
was
you-
giving us a hard time, to be fair.
No, we were giving her a hard time. the poor
Listen,
thing.
when do we ever give anybody a hard time?
And so it didn't shock me that she said, "You get your ass over here,"
But I called her on it.
but you called her on it. You said, "Did you just say you get your ass over here?"
And she said, yeah.
She said, "Well, yeah." And we're like, "What?" She was like, "The machine won't dispense the ice." And I was like, "What does that have to do with?" And she said, "So you get your ice over here." Oh.
Oh, ice. Ice.
So
To which Sean said, listen, sweetheart, you
Listen,
need to
sweetheart.
enunciate your words. I'm from Boston. Listen to me. I've had to talk with these. I think you said effing artards,
Yeah.
I think is what you said in the middle of the establishment.
I never say
And
artards.
everybody turns and looks. And then I have to mouth, he's from Boston, and point. And then they go, oh.
That explains why he drags his knuckles. So,
Right.
hey, quick disclaimer. We are under like a pretty severe weather watch right now as far as wind and heavy rain and lightning, etc. So if
We
for
just got word from an outpost,
Yeah.
from an SHR outpost. Hey, hang on. What part of this is untrue?
It's completely untrue. One of our weather watchers,
One of our weather watchers, I apologize. One of our weather watchers in an SHR outpost.
who's in an SHR, who's to the west of us,
yeah.
notified us that a pretty hefty storm is coming. All the maps and indicators. I was on Doppler earlier.
I don't know who Doppler is, but that's gross. You keep your personal life to yourself,
Eh.
and we don't need to hear about that.
And then I realized,
Although I did appreciate the pictures.
I had no idea how the hell to read a Doppler. So
Right, because he was all tattooed.
Right.
It was
like
a
that
mess.
new show with the girl.
And
that
I said,
shows
that's
up
not
tattooed."
Doppler, that's Big Fat Paulie just dressed up.
So then I looked at the map and everything looked red and scary. So I assume that means something bad's going to happen. And actually, as I'm listening out the window, you can hear it right now. It's pretty bad out. So
In the chat room, dude, you're in Cali. How much rain you all expecting? Half an inch?
at least.
What I want to know is why he said half an inch when he's talking to you.
Right,
I mean,
well-
how does he know? I don't. That's kind of.
You must
that's
know I'm
not-
Irish. So, but other than that, it should be. If there's one thing that we love on this show is having our show interrupted every once and again. So
Usually it's by the NSA.
usually by the NSA. This time though, unless
It
Can
could
they-
be God.
can they control weather now? Did
Look,
it finally happen?
look,
Was Alex Jones right?
Look, I can't confirm or deny anything. I don't know.
Because you don't know.
Because I don't know. What part of that was a lie?
Very true.
But
Special-
so if the NSA doesn't tonight, it might be God.
Exactly. Special treat for the Sackhead listeners. Sacco is good. He gets his one phone call.
Yeah, it is that time of
Yeah,
the year.
Yeah.
I think,
So
for his,
we'll
his
get his
phone
one phone call. Right about top of the hour. Right around 9 o'clock Pacific.
call.
Midnight
It's
on the
top
East.
of the hour right now. Ish.
9 o'clock Pacific.
Taxes was waiting around for your taxes to be done, which led to worrying about not getting any money back. Now Taxes is matching with a TurboTax expert who can do your taxes in a day to get you up to $4,000 fast with a refund advance loan. Now this is Taxes. Intuit TurboTax. Get an expert now on TurboTax.com. Expert filing only available with TurboTax Live Full Service. Refund advance has $0 loan fees and 0% APR. Refund advance loans may be issued by First Century Bank, N.A. or WebBank. Terms apply. Subject to approval.
Midnight on the East Coast.
Right.
So we're looking forward to that.
If you miss Sacco's voice,
his tenderness,
his tenderness, his sweet
he said
soft.
he was on some guy named Bart earlier, so we'll
Sure.
have to ask him about that.
I don't know who Bart is.
I know, but we I don't know. I mean, he's living in the Bay Area now, so I'm not judging.
No, not there's anything wrong with that.
No, to each their own. So we'll ask him what it was like to ride Bart tonight, and just see what he says. How are you, my friend?
I'm doing well.
This is another one of those weeks that I'm looking at the time, and I'm looking at the board, and I'm looking back at you, and I'm like, we got to go quick here, huh?
Story of your life. I don't what.
Did you have a good week, jackass?
I did. I did. Yeah, I'm the jackass.
Oh, I know.
I did. I actually printed out some pictures. I neglected to bring them tonight, but I may be able to run home at some point since I live so far away. But I printed out some pictures of us at Freedom Fest.
Oh, cool.
So I figure we could do something, put them up in the studio.
I think it's a great idea. I'm looking forward to that.
No, it was a great idea. That's why I'm telling you about it. So, what? I had a good week. I'm looking forward to the week being over.
I always do.
Yeah. I'm looking forward to my Friday evening.
Who doesn't? Who
Right?
doesn't look forward to a good Friday evening?
Yeah.
Well, that's good.
I'm looking
excited.
forward to a very good Friday evening.
Good for you. I'm really excited for you. That should be awesome.
Why are you staring at me like
I'm
that?
just kidding.
Pitchers and catchers starts in a few days. I'm
Dude,
excited.
I'm very excited.
That's the biggest news of the week for me.
I think so. Anyone who listens to the show know that baseball is one of our big seasons, and we both follow
American League teams, real
very,
baseball,
very closely.
real baseball. Yeah. What part of that was untrue?
So this is always an exciting time of the year for us. It's the year where the Athletics really get fired up until about the end of August.
Yeah, and I'm a huge athletic supporter.
You are a giant athletic
I'm a
supporter.
ginormous athletic
As a matter
supporter.
of fact, your nickname when we go to games is Cup.
It is. And here's the thing about baseball. We get along great with baseball.
Mm-hmm.
First of all, the fans in most cities are pretty good, even in Oakland.
Baseball fans are usually pretty
Baseball
well
fans are
educated.
usually-
even
yeah.
the drunk crazy ones.
Yeah, which is usually the sackheads.
Right.
But so we're both AL fans, but we're not in the same division.
Right.
So we can actually talk baseball and
And there's usually a healthy dose of rivalry because usually
absolutely. We get a
last-
couple series in.
last 15 years there's been some playoffs and stuff like that and some players going back and forth.
Yep. Thank you for Josh Reddick
Hey, you know,
and Coco Crispy.
Josh Reddick turned out to be a hell of a ball player. Kind of always knew he would be, and I'm glad to see. But again, I'm glad to see a kid like that. Coco's been good for years, and
Yeah.
even though he's not in his prime anymore, he still brings a lot to the table. But a guy like Riddick, I love watching ball players like that. You know, a guy who had high hopes and he kept plugging away until he got his shot. He finally got his shot. And he made the most out of it. So, you know, it's definitely going to be a. It's definitely going to be a good year. Chat room. If you're not in the chat room, shrmedia.com, click live chat. Ralph in the chat room. You've been to Old Yankee Stadium. Boston comes to town. It is not civil.
That's because New Yorkers are jerks.
But here,
I'm kidding.
I
I'm
have
kidding.
been to a Sox game at Old Yankee Stadium, and maybe I just sat in a good spot. And I had my Red Sox gear. I wasn't shy about it. It was 2002, I believe. Maybe 2000. No, it was 2002. But I will tell you that the group I sat near, there was good ribbing going back and forth the whole time. But it never got mean. And I had a lot of good conversations about baseball itself. A couple of rounds of beers bought back and forth. I had a couple people, kind of throw some words at me as I was walking out and walking in. But
yeah.
but no,
That's different, though, than being in a Raider game and getting shanked.
right? Exactly.
Right?
But I had a good time.
So now I've been to some games with Yankees fans. I've never been to Old Yankee Stadium. I missed out on that. But I've been to some Oakland games with Yankee fans, and same thing. And even look, the last time you and I went to a game, with our kids, I was in the middle of Red Sox. I was in the middle of the visitor box. I'm pretty sure Boston bought the entire section.
So here's
Right, and the best part
that
is
was a riot.
my 6-year-old, what was he, 5 at the time,
Yeah.
right? My 5-year-old gets in a yelling match with all of the Boston fans, got on the Jumbotron. Do you remember this?
Yes.
He gets on the Jumbotron because he is the solo, cheerleader for Oakland in the entire section, and he's having a yelling match back and forth with "Let's Go Oakland" and the Boston fans singing "Let's Go Boston," and so he was actually on the Jumbotron. It was pretty amazing, and Josh Reddick, it was in right field,
Yep.
and kind of looked up and gave him a thumbs up, which was pretty cool. He thought that was awesome, but that boy is insane.
Well,
he's going to be the cause of even more gray hair for me.
Of course he will. Oh no, he's going to put you in the gray bowl.
Yeah, that one is
But that was the
reminds
funniest
me of
part.
me.
Yeah, what a jerk.
Right?
The best part about that
He's
is
at the park the other day getting chased by a kid who's 3 years older, and he looks back at the kid and says, "You're slow," and starts laughing.
that is you. So we're excited about that. What I'm even more excited about is, man, we got to get to some topics.
Yeah, we do. We're 3 minutes over, and I'm blaming you.
Starting it off on the big list, the big board of topics this evening.
Hang on. You know what I just figured out on the Twitter box?
What's that?
If I swipe during my Twitter notifications, I can like it right from my home screen without unlocking it and going into my Twitter app.
Ladies and gentlemen, Clint just showed up in 2013.
Thank you. Go.
Starting us off is the GOP feuds. Said it before, I'll say it again. The Democrats have their work handed to them because, essentially, the GOP can't well enough leave itself alone. This is amazing to me. Listen, I understand that they're all trying to get the nomination. I understand that they're, it just is what it is. But now you have Cruz and Trump in this match over this one ad in South Carolina, which is not too far away. And I'm going to play the ad. And this is Ted Cruz's TV ad, and then we'll talk about it. So here it is.
I'm Ted Cruz, and I approve this message.
Life, marriage, religious liberty, the Second Amendment. We're just one Supreme Court justice away from losing them all.
Would President Trump ban partial birth abortion?
Well, look, I'm very pro-choice.
But you would not ban it?
No.
Or ban partial birth abortion?
No, I would. I am pro-choice in every respect.
We cannot trust Donald Trump with these serious decisions.
So the Cruz ad brings up an old Donald Trump statement in which he said he's pro-abortion. I don't know exactly when the statement was, 13, 14 years ago, maybe a little bit longer. And essentially Trump's alleging that it's slander. And Ted Cruz had a big speech today.
Even though it's Trump's own words.
Yeah. He's slandering himself. He's actually got a lawsuit going on himself right now.
Against himself.
And so Cruz essentially said, hey, if you think that's the case, file the lawsuit. Let's go. Let's do it. He said that today in a speech. And it's really starting to fire up. I also think Rubio's locked into Bush, and we'll talk about that in a second. But
wait, what? What did you just say? Like, how'd he do that? This segment just got really interesting for me. Can we loop that?
Oh, man, we could.
I think we should. That should be a political ad right there for 2016.
Just 30 seconds of
30
that.
seconds, yeah.
Rubio's locked into Bush. Rubio's locked into Bush. Rubio's locked into Bush.
Just all the, but like different cartoons of like.
Every like parody of what that could mean.
Right.
So, Rubio's almost sitting there licking his chops, if you will, because Trump and Cruz are doing the work for him. They're destroying each other in all of this. Now, I think everyone here knows our thoughts on both Trump and Cruz, and Rubio for that matter. This only benefits Marco Rubio, these two annihilating each other, especially going to South Carolina.
Yeah, but Rubio's in it now, too. I mean, you look at Rubio and Bush.
Yeah, but, and here's the thing about that is I don't consider Bush to be a big enough candidate. I don't think he's got enough clout in this election where it matters. I think here's
where it does matter. I think here's where Bush is kind of the sleeper. If this goes to a brokered convention, because none of these guys will back down, then you could see Bush with a nomination during a brokered convention. Look, I think the reason Trump's winning right now is because it's a four-way race, really. Mm-hmm. Rubio and Cruz and Bush are really splitting the majority of the GOP voting bloc.
Yes.
And I think it was Newt Gingrich that made this point He said, "Look, 40% in a four-way race is great. That's a huge margin, but 40% in a two-person race is a loss." And Newt is absolutely right in that. Bush is not gaining or losing supporters, right? Which means he's right at about 40%. And I think Gingrich is right. In a general election, he would garner about 40%. So for Republicans, I can see the Republican establishment being nervous about Trump getting the nomination. Now, if Trump gets the nomination, he gets the nomination. That's the process, right? But you have Rubio, Cruz, and Bush that really, three egos are preventing them from getting out of the race and doing what is perhaps better for the party.
Right.
And not just the party, but potentially the country. Look, I've said it before. I haven't endorsed anybody yet, and neither of you. The show hasn't endorsed anybody yet. But here's the thing. I think Donald Trump would be a great economic president. I really do. Economically, I think Trump would be good. I think he understands business, obviously. I think he understands how to deal with China economically. I think he could deal with Russia economically. Do I think he could effectively fight the war on terror? I don't have confidence that he can. Do I think he can effectively deal with Putin in the geopolitical arena? I don't think that he can. I don't know, but that's just not the sense I get right away.
Right.
And I think there would be a learning curve there. Do I think Kasich is a progressive? I do, which is why he did so well in the last finished second in the last primary. But Cruz, who I think is kind of a pompous ass. Can I say that? I can say it 'cause it's our show, right?
Yeah, you can say whatever you want.
Rubio and Bush. Bush isn't going to get out just because of his name. Ego won't allow him, and Rubio also. So those are kind of my concerns and where I see this going right now. So you mentioned kind of Bush being kind of the fourth place guy here, and I think the way it's looking right now, I can certainly see that. But in a brokered convention, do I think a brokered convention Trump's going to get the nomination? No. Do I think that Cruz is going to get it in a brokered convention? No. I think it's going to be Rubio or Bush, and I think Bush has. I think Bush at this point is fighting for a brokered convention. That's my sense on it. He was asked earlier, "Hey, do you think there's going to be a brokered convention?" He says, I wouldn't put it past. I think it's certainly a possibility, and I think that's actually Bush's best. Yeah, I think that's his best shot for getting the nomination. And last time it worked out really well. It was Gerald Ford that got the nomination. Oh wait, he lost.
A couple comments out of the chat room. Agador, or they're talking about Rubio and the Gang of Eight it's just hanging around his neck, and that's going to come up more and more. And that was brought up by Ralph in the chat room. And somebody brought up a good point. It was Agador. Is hey, which Trump is going to show up, and does he even want to be president? And
here's the thing, right? He's now reneging on his promise or his pledge not to run as a third-party candidate. He brought that up
recently
this week. So now, if he doesn't get the nomination, he's saying, "Well, I don't know that I'm not going to run now as an independent."
You know what, though? I think that's a little bit of. I think he's preying on the fact that conservatives and I even hate to use the word conservatives, Republicans in this country are so afraid of what's on the left, and just don't want that no matter what. That I think that's his way of saying, "Hey, you know what? If you don't make me the nominee." I may have to run third party because look what will happen, and then I'll split out the vote, and it'll get ugly, and then the left has a better chance of winning. You may want to consider me. I think that's a little bit of a play on that. I don't think he'll run third party. I really don't.
I would hope not.
I would hope not, too. I mean, it's possible. Who knows with this guy, right? You never know what Trump's going to do. Like I said, if it wasn't so serious, I would love to. Dan just beat me to it in the chat room. I would love to make this a reality show with Trump. You know what I mean? Like, remember how we used to talk about Putin, Gaddafi, dropping them in San Francisco and do like a buddy TV reality show?
Yeah.
Throw Trump in there too. The three of them would have been a blast if. But like I said, I think the broker convention's what a lot of people are weighing on.
Which is not the way to go.
No.
I think that if those three could get their egos out of the way, and the party really went to them and said, hey, good chance Trump will lose the general election. What do you say two of you drop out and throw your support behind this person?
Right. Now, it's limiting the options. And, I mean, whether you like them or not, those are the four serious candidates right now. Dr. Carson's still there, but, his numbers are not that great right now. The question will be, who's going to have the audacity to step up and step out? And that's really what it comes down to. I think South Carolina, if Bush does not pull a Mutt and Kasich, whatever, but if Bush doesn't pull a big number in South Carolina,
I think it's a three-way tie for third right now, three-way tie for that second spot right now.
If he doesn't pull that number out and jump to number 2 by himself, you may see a reconsideration as to whether or not he's going to stay in.
I don't know that he will.
Because that's his backyard. That's his backyard.
Florida.
Yeah, South Carolina's not far from Florida.
Neither's California, same country.
And Bush is pushing really hard because there was the tweet he sent out today of the gun with his name on it. And I think he just put America as the tweet. Okay, you own a pistol.
Yeah, that's cute.
That's cute. And there's nothing.
Does he even know that it's a pistol, though?
I believe he called it a pistola.
Okay.
So that's good. No, and listen, I don't knock him. And there are people all over this country right now flipping out about that picture because how dare he show a gun on Twitter being a presidential.
Good for him.
Everyone remember when Obama first started becoming uber anti-Second Amendment as president. He always has been, but I mean, when he started making his moves and everyone went crazy about it, and then all of a sudden there was a photo of him shooting skeet with a rifle. What difference does it make, or a shotgun rather? What difference does it make if a guy likes to go to the range and shoot or carries his gun and believes in the Second Amendment? I would hope, as a conservative, or a faux conservative for Bush, that you would be smart enough to show that you have a strong Second Amendment alignment. Even if it's false, at least because the people you're trying to reach out to have that alignment with the Second Amendment. So I don't understand why this bunch of panty-waisted people in this country flip it. I mean,
because they like to make
social media went insane over that picture.
Of course they did, because they like to make an issue out of everything.
Oh.
They can use it later, whatever. It's stupid. They're not voting, and yeah.
No, that's the symbol of America.
Yeah.
No shit.
Yeah. How do we get these freedoms?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, we fought for them.
Yeah, we didn't play
with guns.
Yeah, we didn't play cards to get them. There wasn't some.
We didn't play Yahtzee.
Yeah.
We didn't roll bones.
No, unfortunately, there was a fight that had to happen.
With guns.
With guns. And a lot of people lost their lives so we could have this freedom. So, to all you ridiculous panty-waisted, oh my God, it's a picture of a gun. If you look at my Sackhead Sean Facebook page, one of my banners for my page is a bunch of guns when I was out shooting.
You have your own Sackhead Sean page?
Yeah.
Why don't you just have a show page?
Oh, I have that too.
I need a page.
No, you don't.
Yeah, I don't even know what a page is.
Yeah, thank you.
You're welcome. I thought one thing from the debates I did think was in poor taste from Trump was when he talked about how the World Trade Center came down on Bush's watch, and that's not keeping us safe. I thought that was in poor taste.
Yeah, that's using George W. Bush to go after
the brother.
The brother.
Which and to bring that up, poor taste.
Poor.
But again, it didn't hurt him because there's and I'm almost to the point. I'm not yet, but I'm almost to the point where I'm wondering if some of the Trump supporters or a large portion of the Trump supporters are supporters of his no matter what.
Right.
Which is the same thing that we
argue about with Obama.
Absolutely. Right? And if that's the case...
It's almost like Ron Paul people. There are some people where I swear if Ron Paul came out and started like barbecuing kittens, they'd be like, no, it's okay.
Yeah. And I don't know if Trump is at that point. I think he has a solid group of supporters. Like we said, he's not gaining. He doesn't seem to be gaining, doesn't seem to be losing.
He just stays steady.
But if he's not losing and he's saying things like that, I think that would hurt that would have hurt most people.
It's not hurting him.
It's not hurting him at all.
Well, anti-candidate, right? We've talked about that.
Yeah, but that's 9/11 that's sacred, right?
Right.
That's like, could you imagine 10 years after Pearl Harbor somebody saying something like that?
Yes.
I mean, that's sacred ground. And for him to just throw that out there like that, I thought
it was poor taste.
I thought it was very poor taste.
But he dodged it. He got away with it.
We're up against a break.
We are up against a break. We come back. We talk about
Justice
the
Scalia.
passing of Justice Scalia. All that and more right here on the Sack Kids Radio Show live on the SHR Media Network.
Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
Times are dark. The people are misled by corrupt politicians, lied to by establishment media, and deceived by the false messages of Islam. A nation looking for direction needs a guide. It needs a man with a cane. I'm Dave Milner. Join me on Spreaker, SHR Media, Pundit Press Radio, and YouTube through the SHR Media page for a different kind of commentary on the unpleasant blind guy. Because the truth is not always pleasant.
In a world controlled by corrupt politicians.
You got a business. You didn't build that.
A team of ordinary men emerge from the ashes to give voice to the voiceless and hope to the hopeless. Sackhead Sean.
Dude, I'm not saying Cap was stupid, bro.
Sackhead Clint.
All good friends of ours usually show up drunk.
Also starring Sacco as the producer.
I'm a little bit drunk, 'cause I'm drinking.
They are the Sackheads Radio Show. Every Wednesday at 8 p.m. Pacific on shrmedia.com.
Hey, it's Jersey Joe from Reefer of Common Sense, and we have moved to a new night and time. Every Wednesday night at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on shrmedia.com, you will catch the Reefer of Common Sense uncensored, unfiltered, and only on shrmedia.com.
Hello, I'm Matt, a student at Hillsdale College. Here is Hillsdale President Larry Arnn on the continuing relevance of the Constitution.
Many argue today that the Constitution is outdated because it addresses problems peculiar to the 18th century. Some parts of the Constitution do read rather quaintly. Consider the injunction against titles of nobility in Article 1, Section 9 of the Constitution. But is that so outdated? The purpose of the injunction is to prevent the government granting special privileges to some for partisan reasons. This strikes at the heart of the rule of law. The crony capitalism so common today is a place where the government bestows favors and tax dollars on some businesses to give them a leg up over others. This is exactly the kind of thing the Constitution was meant to prohibit. The Constitution is not so outdated after all.
This Constitution Minute was brought to you by Hillsdale College. To join the national conversation on the Constitution, go to constitutionminute.com.
Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
And welcome back to the Sack Kids Radio Show live in the SHR Media Network. We're going to talk about Justice Scalia is passing in a moment. But I just want to answer one thing from the chat room on the last segment.
What?
Golf Dogs, our friend Ron in the chat room, he said the media made Trump, and now they can't figure out how to stop him other than assassination. Here's my only issue with that. I think government made Trump. I think Congress over the last 8 years has made Trump, and further. I think this president over the last 8 years has certainly made Trump. I think
the Republican Party
has also made Trump.
Yeah.
And the reason being, like I said before, he's like an anti-hero, if you will. I'm not saying he's a hero, and I'm not saying that he is tried and true in what he's saying he wants to do. What I'm saying is he's
the anti-candidate.
Yeah, people are drawn to him because of his outspokenness, because he's allegedly transparent. Now, whether or not they're digging deep enough to find out that's the truth or not, that's a different story. But I think the media was forced to kind of swallow Trump. Listen, if they could bury Trump right now, I think they would. I think they always would have. The problem is he thrust himself out so quick that they had no choice.
I think the liberal media likes Trump because of what he's doing to the Republican Party.
I agree with that.
That's what I think.
I agree with that to a point.
That's what I think. But I think that the Republican Party actually absolutely made Trump based on how they've conducted themselves. I want to get to Justice Scalia. So Justice Antonin Scalia died, 79 years old. Probably the most conservative Supreme Court justice. Mm-hmm. Served his country honorably for over 30 years.
Yes.
Very, very sad. Had some great opinions on several cases.
One of the best dissent writers, I think, that's ever been in the Supreme Court. I just think his dissents were always brilliant. And that may not seem like a big deal, but he really hit home with a lot of his dissents. On top of his decisions, don't get me wrong, his decisions were huge. And he was a very well-respected by his peers, liberals and conservatives alike. Justice Ginsburg used to call him her buddy. They had a lot in common. They used to spend a lot of time together, which tells you... and that's something, too, where I think that we could probably take a page out of their book sometimes when dealing with the left and people of different opinions is, they were able to form this great friendship because of who he was and who she is.
As a man.
Yeah.
And you look at some of his opinions. 2008, he had an opinion for individual gun rights that he viewed as very important in his career. He voted consistently to allow for that relationship to exist between government and religion in many cases. He voted for lawsuit limitations. He voted for states to draw their own abortion laws, so states' rights proponent. Very, very, very conservative, like you said. And Senator Chuck Schumer out of New York tweeted out, while we disagreed on many issues, Justice Scalia was a brilliant man and a great son of Queens with a genuine joy for life. So very good words, very sweet words to be spoken. I am very I want to talk first about this before I talk about potential nominations. I'm sick by this president. Reports are that this president is not going to be at the services Saturday for Justice Scalia. He says that he'll pay respects at the court because his body is at the Supreme Court building. He says on Friday. The president says he'll be there Friday to pay his respects, but he won't be at the service on Saturday. And the White House doesn't really know what he's going to be doing.
Right. Which is a little bizarre, isn't it? Because you figured they would have some sort of idea.
That is so ridiculous. This is a sitting president of the United States is refusing to attend the services of a sitting United States Supreme Court justice.
Mm-hmm.
I don't care if this was a conservative president and a liberal judge.
Right. You go.
Or a conservative president and a liberal Speaker of the House.
Well,
or it doesn't matter if you disagreed with somebody on an ideological standpoint. This is somebody that served in one of the 3 branches of government, who served his country honorably for 30 years. You may fundamentally disagree on the issues and have fundamental ideological differences, but did you not just say, President Obama, in your State of the Union address, how there has not been enough done to bridge that divide, to bring both sides of the aisle together? And yet you have an opportunity to bridge that divide and to lead by example on this point, and you refuse to go to the services, opting instead to pay your respects on Friday.
Mm-hmm.
What kind of message does that send? I mean, not just the message, but first of all, how hypocritical, right, to talk about how we need to bring everybody together, blah, 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 during his State of the Union, and then to miss an opportunity like this. And what about just in poor taste? What does that say about him as a man? To me, that means that he is not, that this president is not a man of honor.
Right.
Or integrity. Because in my opinion, a man of honor and integrity who genuinely believes that the office is bigger than himself, as a sitting president of the United States, would attend this. To me, this speaks volumes. Not that I needed any more to be said about this man, but this to me tells me that Obama thinks he's bigger than the office.
Well, and here's the thing that... Go ahead.
And no, I'm sorry, I was in the middle of my rant.
No, it's fine.
I apologize. And just a lack of honor and dedication to what it really means to be a president. Yeah, go ahead.
Well, and here's the thing. We've talked about this president for a long time, and we always try to find when he does something good, we always try to kind of bring it to the forefront. The few times we've been able to do that.
He wiped his own ass.
Right? Yeah. He is. He's like a little kid. And what I was going to comment before that statement came out was on Saturday, when he gave his statement about the passing of Justice Scalia, I actually thought it was a good statement. It was quick. It was about 3.5 minutes, but he highlighted who he was. He talked about his legacy. He talked about how energetic style, incisive wit, colorful opinions, a brilliant legal mind. He was larger than life on the bench. He went into his history, being a child of Italian immigrants, how he went to Georgetown and Harvard. And he really, as soon as I watched it, I said, hey, you know what? I give him kudos. Like, this was, he didn't get too political at the end. He talked a little bit about filling the spot, but I knew that was coming. But there wasn't any vitriol. There wasn't any harsh words or, blah, blah, nothing. Mm-hmm. He highlighted their relationship with, like I said earlier, with Justice Ginsburg.
There was by some on the left. I couldn't believe some of the tweets and so forth that came out.
I want to get to that in a second.
Yeah. I want to get to something else in a second before we get to those, but yeah.
But so when he gave that speech about the passing of Justice Scalia, I was actually like, hey, he did a good job on that. It wasn't, it could have been a lot worse with this guy, right? I mean, it could be a lot worse. So I was, he's like the dog that didn't take a dump on the floor. You're like, good boy. And then all of a sudden.
Hang on, I want to make a disclaimer because people think you're a racist. SHR Media, Sackhead's radio show, and Sackhead Sean specifically did not mean to liken the United States, the President of the United States, Obama, to a dog due to any racial issues, ethnicity, creed, religion. Yeah, he meant it strictly from a comedic standpoint.
Yeah, it was satire,
as a figure of speech, not for any kind of hatred with him as a man or a gender neutral individual of a darker complexion than anybody else. Okay, go ahead, Sean.
Thanks.
Yeah, you're welcome.
I'm glad we had that disclaimer.
Yeah, me too.
I love how our lawyers will tweet you that quick.
Yeah, that was amazing. It was like right on my phone. I read it verbatim. It was amazing.
No, but it's like a little kid. You want to encourage good behavior in them. Like you're like, but I did.
And when Sean says them, he doesn't mean people of ethnic diversity, skin color, marital status,
whatever. But I was like, okay, good. He had a good speech about it. And then I find out that he can't even turn around and attend the funeral of a sitting justice.
He's like Terrell Owens. He catches the ball not because he's
I would
the
like
same
to
skin
disclaimer
color
right now for Sackhead
like
Clint
that,
that it had nothing to do with skin color being alike.
Right? He catches the ball. He makes a catch, right? 10-yard completion. That's great. And then he half-ass runs to the end zone and gets tackled.
Right.
That's
right.
That's this president.
Right.
So one thing about Scalia that I like, this man was born in Trenton, New Jersey.
Yes.
Battle of Trenton.
Battle of Trenton.
He was born where the revolution turned around.
Yeah. Kind of ironic.
Kind of ironic. Very simple. And we, those of you that listen know that we tell that story for our Christmas time here. Now, I want to talk about nominations. First of all, I think it's hilarious now how the Democrats are
demanding it.
Going on and on about the Republicans blocking and all this other stuff. When, hey, jackasses, you did the same thing.
Obama did it.
Obama voted to.
Voted to. Yeah.
Oh, but he regrets that now. Yeah. So they need to do their constitutional duty. Okay. Let's have that argument. So they're saying Obama shouldn't nominate somebody. I'm going to give the left a little bit on this. You know what? He is the president of the United States. He does have the constitutional authority. I'm going to say authority, not right. Some jackasses are using the term right. He's a member of government. He doesn't have the right. He has the authority as his office. Obama has the authority to nominate a Supreme Court justice, a replacement. So, since that is his constitutional authority to do that, I agree that Obama should go ahead and do that. He is still the president of the United States. He can execute that power to do so. However, the Senate has to confirm it. That's their constitutional duty.
Or not confirm it.
Or not confirm it.
Mm-hmm.
So, if the president is going to exercise his constitutional authority and nominate, he can nominate all day long. The Senate should then exercise their constitutional duty and authority and not confirm anybody.
Absolutely.
They're not compelled constitutionally to confirm anybody. He can nominate all day long. What's the argument about?
Right.
Yeah, Obama should wait. Why? He's the president.
He doesn't have to wait.
Let him nominate.
That's right.
Hey, Senate, he should wait. Why? Why should he wait? Because so you don't have to get forced into a vote?
And
no.
If they confirm one of his appointees, if they do it, if he nominates and they confirm, you now know how much spine the Senate truly has.
Yeah, we know that anyways, right?
But I'm just saying.
We know that anyways, right? But the Senate should then do their job. Do your job. Say no. And then we can have the argument, and yes, you can say, hey, listen, we're not confirming anybody for this president. He can nominate all day long. But we're still going to do our job and not confirm him. But what if he gets a moderate in there that people actually like?
Right.
Okay, then what's the worst thing that happened? You confirmed a Supreme Court justice that you actually agreed with him on.
Like he knows I'm moderate, but go ahead.
He doesn't, right? That's like the question. So, Mr. President,
I know it's hypothetical.
Yeah,
but
is it possible you're going to nominate a moderate? Oh, well, I didn't say that. Did you hear that when he was talking about the appointment?
Yeah.
Yeah, of course he's not. So, yeah, what's the big deal? And then you don't confirm anything, and you say, hey, listen, yeah, this should be an election issue. Okay. Well, now you make it an election issue.
I can tell you that Sunday afternoon there was a whole bunch of people in the Ninth Circuit Court who was probably getting fitted for new suits and working on their resume.
Why? They should know that they're not going to get the job under the Senate, or they shouldn't get the job with the Senate.
They shouldn't.
Yeah, shouldn't. So the next question then is, what about that 2-month period when the Senate would go into recess before the president's out of office? Are you going to have a recess appointment? And here's the thing. Hey, Mitch McConnell. Hey, Slick. Hey, Mitch, because we love you so much. You don't have to recess. There is nothing that says you have to go into recess. So guess what? In November, you stay your asses in Washington.
Yep.
And you don't go into recess. You hold a hearing or two.
Yep.
Maybe you go home for Christmas. That's great, but you don't go into recess.
And you just sit on it.
And you sit on it. Because the Constitution doesn't say you have to go into recess at any specific time.
Right. Right.
That's a no-brainer. That's how you get around a recess appointment. And hey, Mitch, old pal, old buddy, if you go into recess, you screwed the pooch and you pretty much get, hey, you had that one coming.
Yeah.
Now you can go ahead and go through the process and try and remove that individual and try and get somebody else in there and have that whole battle. Easiest thing to do, you don't recess. What's the problem?
There shouldn't be a problem. Shouldn't be being the key word.
This president has such a unique chance to overturn the balance of power. That's huge right there. But this would be the third Supreme Court vacancy during Obama's time.
Yeah.
Can you imagine 3 out of 7 justices on the Supreme Court an Obama nomination?
I hate
an
to
Obama
say it,
an
but
abomination.
It's the libtard dream.
Yeah.
And that's, if whoever appoints the next 2 justices kind of sets the Supreme Court for 30 plus years.
Whoever sets the next justice.
Well,
for the next 5,
realistically,
10 years,
potentially 5 maximum. I think Justice Ginsburg may retire. I honestly think with Scalia passing, that may up her retirement because I think part of it was her relationship with him. And folks, if you think I'm kidding, there's a bunch of reading you need to do.
No, they were very close. They were very close friends. Disagreed ideologically,
but they were very, very tight.
Very, very tight.
And I think you could see her.
I don't know how tight she was, but like their friendship,
right,
was tight. I just want to clarify for our listeners.
But
that might be the
other reason why she may retire is because now that'll give Obama 2 more appointments, right? So you have
nominations.
Nominations.
2 more nominations.
But you have Justice Scalia's passing.
But here's why she might not. Because if the Senate's not going to confirm anybody,
it'll be the 2. Right. You just punted the 2 over to whoever the next president is.
Right.
And if the next president's a conservative, there's a lot to consider.
But let's think about this. Let's think about this for a moment. If she retires, you now give the weak-spined Senate an easy out, right?
Yes.
Because we'll confirm 1 Obama appointment because we really didn't shift the balance of power because we're still filling a liberal with a liberal.
Right.
But we're not confirming 2.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right?
You could very well take your time, but confirm 1.
Confirm 1. That way, hey, listen, we're trying to work with the guy.
Right. Right. I wonder what Judge Judy's doing. It doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter. Did you say who or
who?
What?
Either way. And the other couple comments that I want to get to about Justice Scalia's passing is social media and the left commenting on the passing of a Supreme Court justice. Now, folks, and I know we have people out there who may have opinions when it comes to some of the justices. A Supreme Court justice, if you can't respect that person individually, respect the seat that they fill. And I believe that. It's just like the president.
Right.
I don't necessarily agree with the man does, but I respect the office. He and I know
the office is bigger than the man.
Golf just had a great comment. He's like, I don't consider him the president. I consider him the occupier in chief or something to that effect. I understand that, and I don't trust me. I don't like the president, but I respect
the office.
The office itself, and
yes.
I'll say horrible things about the president's political decisions for our nation. But as the individual, as the man, I've said before, nothing. I will say nothing bad about him.
No, not me. I will question his honor and his integrity and his motivations in terms of him thinking he's bigger in the office
his health,
based upon this.
His health, his family, things
like
absolutely. That. All off limits.
Absolutely. And we've said that before.
Right.
We'll joke.
Minus the First Lady, only because she makes herself a public figure.
Yeah, but we really don't say too much bad about her.
But
we really don't.
I think she's fair political game.
Yeah, I don't know.
But, certainly not the girls or anything like that.
No.
So, but from the left, it's a totally different species. I'm going to read some of these, and you're going to
By species, he's not referring to anybody because of gender, sexual orientation.
I'm going to read a
religious
couple
background.
of these, and there's some harsh language. Not that that's a big deal in our show, but at Jeeves Meister, who goes by the Dick of Jeeves. I don't know what that means.
Who is Jeeves, and why is that his dick?
Not important.
That actually kind of is
his
important.
tweet is, senile Scalia once used a fictional television show 24 as a defense of actual torture. Rotten hell, you fuck. And he was talking about Jack Bauer, show 24.
The guy's a dick, and that's by his name, Dick of Jeeves.
I know. I don't care how bad form it is to dance on graves. Fuck the fastest. Rest in hell, Scalia. Fuck you, Scalia. These are all different tweets. I mean, this is just absolutely crazy. Fuck speaking kindly of the dead. Scalia was a monster. His death should be celebrated by everybody fighting for a truly just society. And that's Arwen Indy. I don't know. Because Scalia was deciding to vote to overturn the will of the people who elected Al Gore. My wish is that he burns in hell. I'm positive Satan welcome. And this is the left. This is the all-encompass, all-loving, inclusive left.
Yeah, listen, this is people that you have to be diverse and inclusive of views that are different from your own.
Right.
Yeah.
This is just insane to me. And it goes on and on. There's a whole list, and it's sad. It really is sad to me that anyone would look at, and that shows you where our level of respect has gone in this country, and people not being able to separate the two. If you don't like his politics, you have the right to sit there and talk about his politics. And there are people out there who are already talking about the decisions that he's made that were negative and all that stuff. Okay, you have the right to do that.
Yeah.
But to say these horrific things about a Supreme Court justice, to me, is just absolutely horrible.
I do want to touch on something before we head into the next break. Are you ready to wrap Scalia?
Yeah.
The Scalia segment.
Yeah.
Or do you have anything else? I
wanted to just real quick. If people,
Yeah.
There's a great article on Ars Technica, ARSTECHNICA.com. That talks about his dissents, and they have a whole list of Scalia's dissents. And like I said, I think the dissents are very, very just as important as the decision. So if you have a chance, go ahead and read it, because there's some great dissents in there, and they talk about the case a little bit prior to the dissent. Go.
I want to talk about something. So this week there were numerous police officers killed in the line of duty throughout our country.
Yes.
And the Sanders-Clinton, when they were debating, they kind of ganged up on American law enforcement. And this was brought to my attention earlier this week by a listener, a very intelligent listener, The Knight, who posted, you can read Bernie Sanders through Bernie Sanders' website, kind of his stance on law enforcement. And under law enforcement, he's referring to, white terrorism, racism, all these things, under the law enforcement section. And he and Hillary Clinton.
What was the website?
Just go to Bernie Sanders' website.
Oh.
And he and Hillary Clinton were going on and on in the debate about how anti-police they were and how basically cops are thugs. Sanders says he's, quote, sick and tired of seeing unarmed black people shot by police. Yeah, and then he talks about how police departments are occupying armies and just so far off the mark. And then this comes out where we have several police officers killed in the line of duty. A Fargo officer was responding to a domestic violence call. Another police officer was killed trying to serve a warrant in Atlanta or just outside of Atlanta. These are men and women who are being murdered in the streets by the criminal element, and the left is mum, completely silent.
As always.
So they'll go on and on about this, and you look at actual use of force studies and everything else, and you'll see how infrequently police actually use force, particularly deadly force. And I just think it's absolutely sick.
Yeah, I'm reading through the Bernie Sanders racial justice page right now. And
read the law enforcement under law enforcement.
Oh, this is
specifically he talks about.
It's all under racial justice. All that stuff.
And there's law enforcement is like a subheading or whatever.
Yeah. Oh, it's all. Yeah. Trust me, it's all under here. environmental violence. I mean, holy. I mean, listen, I knew Bernie was cuckoo.
Yeah.
And I've never argued that. But wow, when you are citing Eric Garner, Oscar Grant, and not understanding the totality, Michael Brown, and not talking about the totality of those cases, and you're just throwing those names out, holy cow. We must pursue policies to transform the country into a nation that affirms the value of its people of color. To start with addressing the 5 central types of violence waged against black, brown, and indigenous Americans: physical, political, legal, economical, and environmental.
Yes! I told you. I just had to get that out for our listeners. We're up against a break.
Mrs. Clinton, do you have a comment on that?
We could cut right through a lot of their.
Good.
Was that a female dog?
That was.
Did she basically call herself a bitch? I'm asking. I'm throwing it out there.
She had some comments about Bernie's page.
She was barking like a bitch. Was she not?
She was.
Where am I inaccurate?
You are not inaccurate.
Let's go to Merriam-Webster. Thank you. That's all I say.
We're up against a break.
When we come back, government deep throats Apple.
Yeah, interesting.
I like how we tie a biblical reference and a porn theme
all at once,
all in one segment. Title.
Yeah, no,
that was brilliant.
Yeah, no, I think.
That was actually about 2 minutes of us going back and forth with different things before we actually settled on that.
We spent more time on that than we did the whole.
We did everything else. It was
prep.
great. Yeah. How about this? What about this? And it morphed into that, which is amazing.
Sackheads Radio back in a few.
Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
Times are dark. The people are misled by corrupt politicians, lied to by establishment media, and deceived by the false messages of Islam. A nation looking for direction needs a guide. It needs a man with a cane. I'm Dave Milner. Join me on Spreaker, SHR Media, Pundit Press Radio, and YouTube through the SHR Media page for a different kind of commentary on the unpleasant blind guy. Because the truth is not always pleasant.
In a world controlled by corrupt politicians.
You got a business. You didn't build that.
A team of ordinary men emerge from the ashes to give voice to the voiceless and hope to the hopeless. Sackhead Sean.
Dude, I'm not saying half was stupid, bro.
Sackhead Clint.
All good friends of ours usually show up drunk.
Also starring Sacco as the producer.
I'm a little bit drunk, cause I'm drinking.
They are the Sackheads Radio Show. Every Wednesday at 8 p.m. Pacific on SHRmedia.com.
Hey, it's Jersey Joe from Reefer of Common Sense, and we have moved to a new night and time every Wednesday night at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on SHRmedia.com. You will catch the Reefer of Common Sense uncensored, unfiltered, and only on SHRmedia.com.
Hello, I'm Matt, a student at Hillsdale College. Here is Hillsdale President Larry Arnn on the continuing relevance of the Constitution.
Many argue today that the Constitution is outdated because it addresses problems peculiar to the 18th century. Some parts of the Constitution do read rather quaintly. Consider the injunction against titles of nobility in Article 1, Section 9 of the Constitution. But is that so outdated? The purpose of the injunction is to prevent the government granting special privileges to some for partisan reasons. This strikes at the heart of the rule of law. The crony capitalism so common today is a place where the government bestows favors and tax dollars on some businesses to give them a leg up over others. This is exactly the kind of thing the Constitution was meant to prohibit. The Constitution is not so outdated after all.
This Constitution Minute was brought to you by Hillsdale College. To join the national conversation on the Constitution, go to constitutionminute.com.
Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
And welcome back to the Sackheads Radio Show live
Thank you.
on the SHR Media Network.
Thank you.
I would love to tell you what's next. I can't see the board. I'm not wearing my glasses.
Government deep throats Apple.
Oh, that's right.
Did we not go into this?
Any moment. Sacco is expected to call in because we want to talk about it. So the FBI is conducting an investigation into the San Bernardino shooters. One of the things that they're trying to access is the cell phone of one of the shooters. We have a problem. So a judge has issued a court order to Apple, essentially saying, hey, you got to get them into the phone so they can get the information they need in there. Tim Cook from Apple turned around and said, yeah, we don't have a software program to do that. Now we have a problem. So, when you and I first discussed this, we had a lot of different opinions. Or at least a lot of different what-ifs and questions to ask. Because, on one hand, you have a judge who's like, hey, they need to get into that phone for a legal reason. Make it happen. And then you have Apple saying, hey, yeah, we'd love to, but can't do it. Don't have the software to do it. Tim Cook, CEO of Apple, came out today. He released a long statement, but what's summed up in a couple things is A, we didn't have the software. B, even if we did, it presents a bigger problem. Well, he didn't say even if we did in the statement.
Even if we did, we wouldn't do it.
But because it starts to create a bigger problem for Apple, right? Because now Apple now has to worry about the security of all their phones. Now, one of Apple's biggest selling points is security. Apple, Mac, iOS, all that is one of the least hacked computer systems. I think it's number 2 behind Linux. But one of the least hacked computer program software, whatever you want to call it, in the world because their security is amazing. One of the reasons they have great security is because they don't even give themselves the power to get into it on some levels after. Now they can do the updates. I personally do have a hard time believing that Apple doesn't have a way into your phone, but I will take it at their word. The other kind of caveats is if for some reason they can be compelled, I'm not saying they should be, but I say could be compelled to create a software or a program that can get into these phones, and then they give said program to the FBI for its investigation, it now destroys a lot of their sales because people are going to say, oh, wait, the FBI has in? Yeah, I don't want that. And not only will the FBI be getting, you look at other countries, specifically China, who would be like, yeah, we're out. You're not buying it. We're not selling anymore in our country. It creates a big issue.
And yeah, it does. But here's my question: if Apple says that the software doesn't exist, they don't have the ability to get in, it doesn't exist.
Yep.
Can the government, can a court compel a private entity or a private person to provide something that doesn't exist?
And I think we both agree they can.
Yeah. How do you do that?
Right.
So if some cop somewhere says, hey, you know what? If I could rebuild this person from this DNA sample, then we could know who our suspect is. I want you to order this private lab to, just like they did in Jurassic Park, but instead of building a dinosaur, I want you to build a person. And the court says, yeah, build a person. It doesn't exist.
And specifically, I want you to build our suspect.
Right.
More specifically.
Right, more specific with this DNA. And if it's missing a couple things, we want you to figure it out.
Yeah.
How do you do that? I mean, it's a different story if Apple says, yes, look, it exists. We have a way in. We don't want to release it because it'll destroy trade secrets. It'll destroy X, Y, or Z or whatever. That's one thing, right? A judge says, hey, release it. Guess what? You're under a court order. Release it. That's not my understanding. That's not what happened. My understanding what happened is a judge says, hey, Apple, you have to help the FBI figure out how to do it. Is that more accurate? Is that kind of what you took from it?
Yeah.
And again, that's kind of my take on the order, is that Apple has to help them by supplying highly specialized software that the FBI can load onto the network. But
the phone.
What if it doesn't exist?
Right. And let's argue for a second that it does exist, just for a split second.
So is it now? Do they actually want into the phone, or do they just want the feature on the phone disabled that automatically wipes the phone after X number of attempts?
I don't know.
But if you don't know the code to get in there and change it,
right?
How do you stop that from happening?
Yep.
And if Apple's saying, "Hey, we don't have the ability to do that," I don't know. If we get a subpoena or a court order that says, "Hey, Clint, you have to give us your Twitter information," I don't know how to do that.
Right.
Sorry, I'm an idiot.
Right. No, well, it's
but that's different because that exists, right?
Right.
So, hey, Sackheads, we want you to send us a link to your show from next week.
Right.
Huh?
Exactly.
It doesn't exist.
It doesn't exist yet.
But you could make it exist.
Right. You guys could go in and record a show right now and have that be next week's show and then give it to us.
Right.
Well, yeah, but we haven't created it yet.
So you're ordering me to do something that...
Well, essentially, and what I'm getting out of this is that the judge, or at the request, the judge approves the FBI's request that Apple create, and Agador summed it up perfectly, software that decrypts their phone and then gives said software to the government. Now, this is where I have a serious problem, because you are now giving a government entity, and all of a sudden the government will love to share information, to the FBI.
That's not true. The government keeps secrets held very, very close. I mean, look at Clinton. A bad example, I'm sorry.
To the FBI that could be used in other ways. And we've seen the NSA. We know all about the NSA, et cetera, et cetera. So, it does create a problem in that regard. We started to have the moral argument. If they could convince, say, Tim Cook that, hey, we believe there's information on that phone that if we don't get, other lives may perish. Imminent attack. Or potential imminent attack. Or the names and addresses. We were talking, too, about how it may not be in a text message form or anything else. It could be on the notepad program, et cetera, of other actors that were involved in that, or maybe involved in future attacks. It does create that moral question. Obviously, nobody, and I believe this for about 96% of the people in this country, if somebody could stop somebody else from being murdered, we would. However, as the CEO of Apple, morally, not legally, does that supersede saving one life? And Tim Cook's a leftist. We all know about the leftists. And if we can save one life, does that supersede the commitment to the shareholders as the CEO, just morally, and customers to provide that information?
No.
You don't believe so?
I don't, and here's why. That same argument could be used for the gun argument. If we outlawed and got rid of every single gun in America and that saved just one life, is that worth it?
But
no. Hang on a second.
There's
no,
a difference
no.
between
Hang
outlaw.
on a
There's
second.
a difference between
Hang on
outlaw.
a second.
There's a difference between outlaw
it's not
and
because
willingly
we're talking.
do it.
You asked me a question and I'm answering.
But you're not
it.
answering the question.
No, I
asked.
am. Let me finish my statement and I'll get to it.
No, because
before you're going to
you
start
said
yelling
outlaw.
and pointing your finger at me.
You pointed first.
No, I didn't. Yes, maybe I did. So. Let's say the government said, "Hey, a judge is going to issue an order that is going to make it illegal for firearms to exist, and everybody has to voluntarily turn them in, and it will save one life." Now you have a situation where, hey, we are asking a private company to instead we're having a judge say, "Hey, private company, I'm essentially issuing an order, which is a law. It is against the law to fail to comply with a court order." In order to cooperate, because it may save one life. We're going to violate your protections as a corporation, as a private entity, as a private citizen, whatever it is, in order to potentially save one life. That's a slippery slope because now you have a line, and who determines where that line falls? And once you have a line, that line is capable of moving.
I understand
I bring up the progressive movement. It started with a line on one end where we started giving up certain liberties and we stood for certain encroachments.
Yes.
And that line has steadily moved farther and farther and farther till we have what we now have today, which is not what our constitutional republic should be.
But that's not what my statement was. If the judge orders, hey, do you have you have the software, or if you have the software, I want you to hack this phone. No, we don't have the software. What I'm saying is, if Tim Cook morally says, but we can create that software, and then I will comply with your order. Not being ordered to complete the software, but willingly completed to comply. There's a difference there. Because now he's availing himself to do so willingly.
But he's doing so willingly at the request of the government.
But through a personal moral obligation is my statement. That's my point.
I don't think it's a moral obligation.
Okay. A moral choice.
Of course it's a choice. Of course that's a moral choice.
If he feels that he could help save a
Look,
life.
that is a moral
and
choice.
Then chooses to.
Yes, absolutely.
That's my statement. That was my statement originally.
Okay, then I misunderstood your statement. That's different, right? Because now you have a customer base that can say, you know what? You made that choice, and so now I, as a consumer, can make a choice not to have your product anymore.
And that's what I'm saying.
So my point was then, what I thought you were saying is, hey, if a government can compel this and he complies because it saves one life, is that a thing? And I says, absolutely not.
No, but if
and then my argument stands. But if it's his choice and he says, look, I will choose to do this to help you out, he absolutely can do that. Just like if as a private citizen, if I were ever stupid enough to say, I will relinquish my Second Amendment right in my guns to save one life, that's my choice.
Right, but that's the point I'm getting at.
Right.
Is
I apologize.
The legal aspect off to the side.
I apologize. I misunderstood.
I'm talking about strictly moral.
Which is rare for me. So
I know.
Listen, relish in the apology.
No.
Jesus, will you just gloat or something?
Listen, you pointed first.
I admitted to that.
No, but my statement is...
Golf Dogs, I'm not scared. My login doesn't work, and Sean can verify that. I'm not scared. You want to call in, I'll be more than happy to talk with you. I am not afraid of much.
No.
Spiders, definitely.
Yeah, if you're a spider, do not call this show.
Anybody else, face-to-face or on a chat roll, absolutely not.
But if you're Tim Cook, and you sit there and you're like, you know what? Maybe we could save a life from other terrorist attack if we develop this software. No, he can't.
No, my password doesn't work. Come on, you guys. Blind guy, can't you see what I'm talking about here?
It does bring up that moral question of what's more important, right? Do you have your obligation to...
I'm afraid of spiders, Coach. I might have said that once or twice in my life.
Twice tonight, I think.
Listen, Aquanet and lighters.
So, it's a tough moral choice, right, if you're the CEO, if you're Tim Cook. Because if you honestly feel, if you're convinced that there's another, let's say it's the big one, the other attack's on the line and the information is in that phone, right? I mean, obviously, I'm expanding this quite a bit, and I'm doing so because we talk about morals, and sometimes morals not always being the right thing to do, even if it's the moral thing to do. We've talked about that before.
Yeah, look.
So let's expand it.
Look, if the phone's there and he makes a choice as a private business, hey, listen, I'm going to hack this one phone,
right?
And then immediately after that's hacked, I'm going to destroy. Hey, government, I will give you this. You bring it to us. We will open it for you. You can be right here. We are then going to take that program we wrote and completely wipe it and destroy it.
Right.
We're not going to put it in a safe for a rainy day. We're not going to have it so it's able to be stored anywhere. We're going to use it one time, completely destroy it. Then, yeah.
Well, that's what I'm saying is, and that'll still hurt him that'll still hurt the company because there'll still people who said, oh, even the fact that you know how to write the software now, I'm out.
Right.
So it just brings up, the legal and the moral. This is one of those strange balancings that we talk about on the show. Legally, obviously, we both agree that he should not be and cannot be compelled to develop something that doesn't exist.
Right.
In order to do so.
Right.
We were going to ask Sacco, and he was supposed to call in, but for those who don't know, Sacco worked at Apple for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
And
we actually talked to him before the show.
We talked to him before the show. We were going to have a conversation about whether or not we truly believe that software exists or does not exist.
And he was adamant that it did not.
Right. He was absolutely adamant that it did not.
And there's no love lost there between him and Apple.
No love.
There's not.
None whatsoever.
Right.
And he said he does not believe that software exists, nor is it like one line of code away from being in existence. And it's a little strange to me. And he was
not a janitor at Apple
No,
either.
he was not a janitor at Apple.
There's a reason he does all of our tech stuff.
Yes. He might know what he's doing here and there.
Yeah.
But, I still have a hard time. Believing that it does not exist. And the only...
So you're calling Sacco a liar?
Well, he may not have been... Maybe he didn't know about it. But I am one of those people that I truly believe most inventors don't invent something without being able to uninvent it, if you will, or have that lock to that key. All the spider comments are coming in now.
Yeah, do people not realize our opening? That's the biggest spider. That actually happened. That was in the silo, if I'm not mistaken.
And for everybody to know, he can read all of these.
Oh yeah, I know. I'm monitoring.
He can read chat roll. He just can't correspond. So he's definitely understanding and reading these. But yeah, I firmly believe that software is there. Now that becomes a problem, right, for Apple. Let's argue now that it is in existence and Apple just doesn't want you to know about it. Should the feds eventually find it, or say there's a whistleblower in Apple who turns around and says, hey, here it is.
That's bad news
for
Apple.
It's huge bad news on every level possible.
Absolutely.
Right? Because now you have the customers who they've promised for years this doesn't exist, who rely on that security.
You've got federal indictments for impeding a federal investigation or providing false information during a federal investigation.
Right. So this is what I was talking about. And Apple, one of the biggest computer companies in the world, this is what I was talking about. This one request could really open up a lot of different channels with this one, not request, court order.
If this exists, I bet there is maybe a couple people in the company that know about it.
Yeah. But what if one of them has a moral spike?
Yeah.
Right? You never know.
Right?
Because
it's probably something like Sackheads Radio, where just we know about it.
Right.
Me, you, and Sack. That's it.
But what? So let's say you're CEO number 4, and you're laying in bed right now. And you have that moral compass that starts to sway, and you're like, hey, dude, yeah, what if other people could die because we're holding on to this and we don't have to? And you pick up, or you walk into the local FBI office, and you're like, hey, I'm Joe Blow. I know how to access it. I know where it is. I know it existed as of yesterday. And I can get you to it if they haven't destroyed it yet. That's still, it's not just on Tim Cook. Now, and he's protected by the Whistleblower Act. There's a whole bunch of different caveats that go to this. And Apple, and I've said this before, I think Apple is a very dark and evil company. And I'm not anti-corporate evil, but I think they control every piece of equipment that has the Apple on it. They have the ability to shut your phone down. They have a lot of different things that Apple can do. If you try to hack it, they're the ones who filed the lawsuits essentially saying, hey, that software is ours, so if you try to hack it, we're going to destroy your phone. And they call it bricking it, et cetera, et cetera. Like Android, if you want to go into Android systems, and you can go in and you can hack it to make it do all different tweaks that you want it to do. Apple and
Android doesn't care?
Android doesn't really care. You can't resell it or anything. It's just your device, your phone. They say they care, but they haven't done anything to really change it. Apple, on the other hand, has filed lawsuits.
Not that Sackhead Sean has ever done anything to his Android phone.
I've never. You know why? Because I am not smart enough to do it.
Right.
So I've never actually tried.
I just want somebody from Android, so we get that notice. No, guys, it was a joke. I swear.
My phone just stops working for no reason whatsoever.
That could be the NSA.
That could be the NSA as well. But Apple, Apple has all that capability. They can go in and drop your phone. They can go in and see if you've changed the iOS in any way, shape, or form. They can randomly audit your phone. So, this one simple court order could play out a lot of different ways. And honestly, if for some reason Tim Cook and Apple is lying, this could be one of the biggest blows to Apple ever. Because it affects so many different lanes, not just the legal side. You now have the consumer side, all that other stuff, that all those people who work there that could potentially lose their jobs if sales drop, etc. It's a big deal. I really believe it's a big deal. So I'm going to follow this one closely to see how this pans out. If there's a whistleblower, next week I'm coming in celebrating. Because I'm going to be like, I was right.
Wait, so are you saying there's a whistleblower?
I don't have one.
Are you saying there is one?
I'm saying
Are you saying one is going to come forward?
I'm saying if that software exists, yes.
So if that software exists, you're going to celebrate?
No, if that software exists...
You think there's going to be a whistleblower?
Right, and then I'll celebrate that I was right. I have not.
So what are you right about?
That there was a whistleblower and the software existed.
Okay, so if either the software does not exist and or there is no whistleblower, then you are not correct.
Yes, that is correct.
So there would have to be the existence of software and a whistleblower.
Yes, Counselor.
Okay. I just want to get us on the record.
No, that's fine, Counselor. I appreciate it. So we're going to watch that story, and there's... Everyone in the chat, Golf in the chat room says, Sean, get a whistle. Listen, you can't tell me. Most of these software companies always give themselves a way in, if nobody else. Because especially if a phone is rooted, which is what they call hacking cell phones for those who don't know. With rooted phones, they want to be able to get in and see what was changed, why it was changed, sometimes to learn and make their software better. Sometimes not, to see how to stop it in the future. But Apple is very, very protective. It's not like Microsoft and Android, which, there's a lot of problems that Apple doesn't have, admittedly so. But it's more of an open source. I mean, I could go into my PC computer if I knew how to write code and start writing code for it and change Windows. I mean, it's very easily accessible. You can't do that stuff with Apple, and they don't do that stuff because they want to have the control. They want to sell you a $550 mouse when yours breaks because that's just how Apple is. You can't just go and change a battery on an iPhone. You have to go and bring it to the iStore, the Apple Store, and blah, 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 blah. I could do it in the chat room. I figure government can just get into my Droid anytime they want. I'm the same way. I know they can if they want to. I've brought this up a bunch of times. I could care less what the government looks at with me personally because I have nothing to hide. I don't think they should have the right to do it, but I have nothing to hide, so I really, really don't care. But Apple, in my humble opinion, has always been very, very much in control of their software on both sides, upload and download. And if you're going to sit here and tell me that software doesn't exist, I just don't believe it. And I believe
I don't believe that you're calling Sacco a liar is what I don't believe.
Yes, I am calling Sacco a liar. Listen,
or ignorant.
I think he's proved he's a liar tonight because he said he was going to call in at 9.
And ignorant because he hangs out with us.
He's totally ignorant.
Not indigenous.
He is indigenous.
He is indigenous.
He is an indigenous person. What's funny is, I don't know, have you seen his new commercials for Geico? He started doing them again. Now, I thought he left that
I thought he
behind
left
him.
that alone. Yeah, because he didn't get the respect.
Right, he said he wasn't going
that
to be pigeonholed
thought
anymore.
he was going to get,
He
right.
He thought the acting would break out a
And then
little
I
bit.
Googled pigeonholed, and my safe search was off. And I got, never mind. Listen, I don't recommend you do it. So I don't know what Sacco was referring to, if he was referring to like typecast or if he was referring to pigeonhole in air quotes. So, yeah, I didn't even know that was possible, nor can I unsee that. Breaking news, Sacco's been pigeonholed.
Sacco. Is that almost like the gerbil thing?
It's worse. Look, they have those beaks and those little claws. I mean, seriously.
Oh, this is what he gets for blowing us off.
Yeah.
He blew us off.
He did.
We made that friggin' kid.
We did, actually.
If it wasn't for us, he'd be way more successful and happy in life.
This is so true.
But we brought him to reality.
Yes, we did.
You're never going to be anything.
Nope.
You're nothing without us.
Nope.
And you're not that good.
Right.
Right. And we brought him back to reality.
We did. We slapped him down hard.
I miss Sacco so much.
So do I. So do I.
love that kid.
And if at first you don't succeed, try again, right?
Yeah.
You've been married once, doesn't work, try it again. Doesn't work, try it again. I mean, eventually, it might work. What could possibly happen?
And that was a quote from Chapter 92 from Take It From Me.
Take It From Me.
The Sackhead Clint story. A biography.
That hurts. An autobiography. Because it writes itself.
Yeah, this is true. That's like Common Core English.
Right.
What's an autobiography?
It writes
A
itself.
story about me that writes itself? You pass. We're up against a break. An autobiography. I don't know why that just became my favorite thing.
It's quote of the night. Do I get the award?
Oh, yes, you do.
Thank you.
Yes, you do. We're up against a break. We come back. We discuss the world affairs.
And we're not talking about we're not talking about the Clintons.
I heard that Africa was hooking up with Antarctica.
Yeah, no, it's not that type. Not that type of affair.
Oh,
yeah. Bill Clinton's not mentioned in this.
Oh,
it's not. Do you think Bill has ever looked at her and said, "I want you to bark like a dog"?
No, I don't think Bill's ever looked at her and said, "I want you to do anything." I one time.
Yeah, maybe after this, he's like, "Bark for me." Like,
I think he got her drunk one time, and that was Chelsea, and that's it. That's totally it. Now, she may bark for Uma, but I don't know.
Who knows?
I don't know.
It's speculation. We don't know.
I don't. Total speculation.
Take us to a break.
We'll be back here on the Sackheads Radio Show live in the SHR Media Network.
Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
Times are dark. The people are misled by corrupt politicians, lied to by establishment media, and deceived by the false messages of Islam. A nation looking for direction needs a guide. It needs a man with a cane. I'm Dave Milner. Join me on Spreaker, SHR Media, Pundit Press Radio, and YouTube through the SHR Media page for a different kind of commentary on the unpleasant blind guy. Because the truth is not always pleasant.
In a world controlled by corrupt politicians,
You got a business. That you didn't build that.
a team of ordinary men emerge from the ashes to give voice to the voiceless and hope to the hopeless. Sackhead Sean.
Dude, I'm not saying Kath was stupid, bro.
Sackhead Clint.
All good friends of ours usually show up drunk.
Also starring Sacco as the producer.
I'm a little bit drunk, I'm a little bit drunk, 'cause I'm drinking.
They are the Sackheads Radio Show. Every Wednesday at 8 p.m. Pacific on SHRmedia.com.
Hey, it's Jersey Joe from Reefer of Common Sense, and we have moved to a new night and time every Wednesday night at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on SHRmedia.com. You will catch the Reverb Common Sense uncensored, unfiltered, and only on SHRmedia.com.
Hello, I'm Matt, a student at Hillsdale College. Here is Hillsdale President Larry Arnn on the continuing relevance of the Constitution.
Many argue today that the Constitution is outdated because it addresses problems peculiar to the 18th century. Some parts of the Constitution do read rather quaintly. Consider the injunction against titles of nobility in Article 1, Section 9 of the Constitution. But is that so outdated? The purpose of the injunction is to prevent the government granting special privileges to some for partisan reasons. This strikes at the heart of the rule of law. The crony capitalism so common today is a place where the government bestows favors and tax dollars on some businesses to give them a leg up over others. This is exactly the kind of thing the Constitution was meant to prohibit. The Constitution is not so outdated after all.
This Constitution Minute was brought to you by Hillsdale College. To join the national conversation on the Constitution, go to constitutionminute.com.
Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
And welcome back to the Sackheads Radio Show live at the SHR Media Network.
Wow. We need to just leave a microphone on during our breaks.
Well, when we do that, we get in trouble. How many times have we left a microphone on and we're both like, we're going to go through and edit that real quick. And then immediately after the show posts, we delete it for 10 minutes, and then all of a sudden it reappears with a strange,
perfectly cut,
with a strange break in the middle of it.
Wow.
Well, there was no background noise in those commercials. Nope, none whatsoever.
Yeah, no, weird. I want to talk about a few things that happened world affairs this week. One, there were two Russian bombers neared British airspace.
Yep.
They did not fly into British airspace, which extends 12 miles off the coast, but they were close to that airspace. They were two of the Tupolev 160 Blackjack bombers, and the Brits scrambled a couple of their Typhoon jets to intercept the bombers and shadowed them. So now we have Russia screwing with the Brits.
And Germany. Because there was a German fighter that was supposed to be in Syria doing recon. It was a Typhoon as well. It was a strike recon fighter. And the Russians essentially shadowed it through its entire mission and back again. So they're also kind of messing with Germans, too.
Which is fine. Historically speaking, that's what
Russians
they did.
And Germans have always worked things
always,
like that out.
What?
That's never led to anything bigger.
It's never led to anything bad. It's not a problem, Germany, whatever. Russia's big industry is what? Oil and salvaged vehicles, I think, right? Yeah, what? Look, it's good automobile. Look. That take 2015, that take 2013. I put them together, I make 2014. What's the problem? It's a good car.
Law of averages.
Have you noticed these incidents seem to pick up since they've been in Syria? Or
yes, I would agree with that.
Are they just screwing with everybody?
They're screwing with everybody. Listen, he's flexing his muscle. And especially because he said time and again he's tried to actually, they're trying to build
the Soviet
Union again. We've talked about that. They're trying to build their military up. I mean, you talk about Cold War sub-activity. The sub-activity now is highest than it's ever been since the Cold War.
What if the Brits would have said, they're coming right for us and shot them down?
International incident.
Right.
Huge.
And?
Huge.
And
I don't know.
I protest. Screw you. You were coming too close to us. Don't fly your shit near us again.
Yeah, and this is the thing. I think Putin is crazy enough to try something stupid, but I don't think he actually has the equipment to do it yet. He's starting to build it up.
Do you think he would? Do you really think that he would go for a war against us, Great Britain?
He knows that we don't have anyone, including the Brits, and I believe this, don't have anyone who has the stones to do that and order the strike or the attack and take the missiles out of the sky.
Right now.
So it's all propaganda, and he'll start with Canada soon too, watch, because Canada's new prime minister. It's all propaganda flights for his own popularity in his own country. You know, there's been tons of reports lately of their equipment breaking down viciously. Exploded. There was I think it was a Bear bomber that literally blew up on takeoff a couple months ago, killed everybody inside. And there's actually video of it, which is even more amazing. You're seeing a Putin who's trying to flex. He's starting to work out an arms deal with Iran. Iran said that they're on board with it. They're starting to talk about that too. I don't think Putin's afraid of anyone except for his own equipment. I don't think he has enough trust in it yet. And that doesn't mean that he won't eventually. They're putting a ton of money in their military equipment. They're really pushing forward with advancing their military equipment. They're talking about another aircraft carrier soon. The Su-34E, which is flying over Syria right now, their brand new Generation 4.5 strike fighter that everyone is saying is absolutely capable of taking on our fighters.
Yeah.
And, you know, excuse me.
You muted your mic. Nobody heard that.
Yeah, but yours was wide open.
But the microphone.
Oh, wow, wait. One of the biggest differences is the Russian pilots, and I watched a great thing not too long ago, the difference between Russian and American pilots. The Russians build their planes for worst-case scenario all the time. Land on rough fields, take off in rough conditions, not necessarily working 100% in order to still be combat effective. But the biggest difference is the Russian pilots believe in their equipment more than just about any other pilots out there. And they're not afraid to try to push the envelope, even if it's up against a fighter that they shouldn't win against. So you have, and I'm not saying anything negative about our airmen and pilots, but they have almost a false sense of confidence. Like, I believe our pilots, our strike pilots, have an accurate sense of confidence. Like, hey, this equipment's going to work. And we know it's going to work. The testing's been there. We have enough confidence in it. We've trained with it, et cetera, et cetera. I think the Russians pilots almost have a false sense of security, and that almost makes them more dangerous, right? Because they'll try anything and think they're going to be okay.
Yeah, because they're batshit crazy.
Right.
And they don't know any different.
And vodka.
Right.
So those things mixed together are a dangerous combination.
There's a comment from this on this article, and the article is British fighter jets scrambled as Russian bombers near UK airspace. It's under conflicts on FoxNews.com. But I want to read one of the comments. One of the comments from Anastasia Moscow with W's all over the place says, I am from Russia. Reading all these aggressive comments towards my country makes me really sad and actually scared. You call us Soviets and blah, blah, and goes on. Why can't we all live in peace and not interfere in each other's business? And then Angie Martinez says, better dead than red, comrade. and Ox Power Unit says, Russian women are hot. I love it. I think that's hilarious. Okay, in other news, in other parts of the world, we've talked before here about the those contested islands that China has been kind of building up and making airstrips on and so forth. The Chinese military just deployed surface-to-air missile systems on one of those islands in the South China.
On the man-made islands.
In the South China Sea.
Yes.
That's big deal.
Yeah, our response is nothing. Listen, nanny, nanny, boo-boo. Boo, 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 boo. That's about all our president has said about this. It's a humongous deal.
Yeah. Yeah. So the missiles were... Last satellite imaging on February 3rd showed that there was nothing in place. However, when the islands were imaged again on February 14th, the missiles were in the frames. At that time, the U.S. has confirmed that the photos are accurate and that they believe to be the HQ-9 air defense system, which is very similar to Russia's S-300 missile system. has a range of about 125 miles.
Well, in typical Chinese way, they take something made by somebody else and then just reverse engineer it to make it their own.
Right, with lesser quality materials and lead-laden paint. What?
That's true.
I know. What? So, yeah.
Yes.
I just, you have Russia doing these flybys, so they've been doing that for a while, but you have China continuing to build up in this region. And then this comes after, so the U.S. had a guided missile destroyer that sailed within 12 miles of one of those islands.
Right.
And I think we talked about it.
Yeah.
I don't know if we talked about it on the show, but I know we certainly talked about it. And China went ballistic.
Which is better than nuclear.
Which is better than nuclear. But they talked about how the warship violated Chinese law, was a deliberate provocation, and on and on. And now you have this contested chain where China is deploying more military assets.
Yes.
And ramping up. And John Kerry came out and said that the U.S. does not take sides on the sovereignty questions underlying the territorial disputes. Basically, yeah, we're not going to get involved.
Yeah, we're out.
We're out. But look, that's problematic because the disputed islands are, I mean, that disputed territory that affects some of our allies. So why would we not?
Well, it affects specifically Japan. That's one of the biggest ones. And the reason is...
Yeah, why would we not take a position on this?
We still have a defense agreement with them that we will defend Japan should they come under some sort of attack. So we need to have... And now, if they negate that contract and jump out, a treaty, if you will, if they negate that and jump out of it and say, we'll no longer honor it, okay, that's a different story. But until that happens, it does exist. And we need to be very, very involved in it. And the fact that he's saying that is just disgusting, actually.
Another story I want to talk about. So the U.S. has sent a couple of stealth fighters to South Korea.
Yes.
And this is, a couple weeks or a week after we landed a B-52 there? How long did we send the B-52 there?
Last week.
Was it last week?
I think it was just last week, yeah.
And this is after North Korea has fired a missile.
Yes.
So 2 of the F-22 fighters, four F-22 fighters came into South Korea and landed. Clearly it's a show of force against North Korea, who continues to ramp up. And the South Korean president, they're now having outward, not dialogue, but the president of South Korea is outwardly talking about the collapse of the regime in the North, which I guess is a huge deal. I guess whenever that happens, the North usually goes
ballistic,
goes nuclear. They're trying to go nuclear, but
nuclear,
it more just goes like snap pop or snap cap, because that's all they're really capable of.
Snap cap.
What? So the jets came from a base in Japan and landed there. The U.S., of course, we're not saying how long we're gonna keep those jets there. But so it was last month that the B-52 bomber landed in South Korea after North Korea conducted its fourth nuke test. It's kind of ramping up over in Korea.
Just a wee bit. Just a wee bit.
Just a wee bit. I think they actually shut down the joint. Don't they maintain some joint plant or joint factory?
Yeah,
over there.
Yep.
And the North Korea basically shut down the phone system, which links the two Koreas so that they could talk kind of in an emergency or whatever. And now there's talk that the U.S. is actually going to put in a missile defense system over in South Korea.
Well, yeah, it's the Taedong joint.
Wait, I'm sorry. What'd you say?
It's the joint plant that's been shut down, and the South's pulled all their people out and have stopped contributing. I think I think they know that at the end of the day, Kim Jong-un lacks the ability and the equipment to launch any
The equipment.
sort of...
Now, you said dong earlier. Is that what you're talking about
Yeah.
when you say equipment?
I'm pretty sure that's
Little Kim?
That's some of the equipment Little Kim prefers to use. But I'm talking about
On himself.
military equipment.
Okay.
I don't think...
I still want one of those hats. Go ahead.
Oh, me too. I still don't think that they have the capability to try to invade or to try to start and win the war with them.
They're already at war.
Well,
there's no peace signed.
To negate the armistice
Mm-hmm.
and go back. And I think he knows that. I think all South Korea is trying to do, and we're being involved, is essentially call his bluff on stuff and just see how...
You just rhymed that.
And how they can try to ruffle their feathers to further show how weak the North is. That's my belief on that.
Is there an article? Is there something somebody wants to talk to us to talk about in the chat room?
Well, yeah, but I'm trying to verify that I. There was a story back in December about how the Turkish government said they can occupy Russia in 7 days if they wanted to through war. And there's been a lot of tension between Russia and Turkey. You had just last week a Russian general, brigadier general, whose name was probably Nikolai or Ivan, I'm not sure. But essentially saying...
Slavonovich, something like that, I don't know.
Who's essentially saying that Turkey is massing troops on the border, and they think that they're going to invade Syria at some point. And there's a lot of stories that have absolutely substantiated the claim that Turkey is mounting troops on the border. Turkey says no, that they're just making sure they're protecting their borders from Syrian refugees and from the likes of ISIS trying to get in. And we also know that there is a proxy war between the two of them going on within Syria, as Turkey backs the rebels and Syria obviously backs Russia backs Syria. But the fear now is that there will be direct conflict between the two of them very quickly. It could spiral out of control. You go back through the history of the two countries, the Russo-Turkish wars in the 16th century. More recent, the Crimean War between Russia and the Ottoman Empire, and then Russia bombing over the border more recently as far as September goes. So there's a lot of little conflicts between the two. And I know that there's a bunch of statements out there, oh, we're not doing this, it's the other guy. We're not doing this, it's the other guy. It doesn't really matter who's intentionally causing the problems.
My ADD just kicked in, and so I have to share this with you. You talked about all those different wars, and so for me, the Trojan War came into play.
Okay.
And then I thought, Trojan, that's a weird name for a condom. Because let's think about this. We have a condom that is named after a Trojan. Right, where a horse, something was brought in, something entered, and then things popped out that ultimately ruined everything and didn't go according to plan. So why would you name a condom after that event?
Yeah, this is a good point.
Right? Because bad things, like look at the computer Trojan, right? Things pop out unexpectedly that weren't supposed to
forever.
And destroy things or plant things where they shouldn't be planted, or you didn't want them planted.
Or you don't know how they got
planted. Or
planted.
you don't know how they got planted.
Or it grows, but it doesn't look like what you planted.
So...
Sounds like you planted a kid in somebody you didn't want.
Hey!
Whoa! Who's this?
Whoa! Who is this on the phone right now?
It's somebody who doesn't really exist. I'm in the ones and zeros right now.
And the ones and zeros.
Okay, Tron.
He's out there... For all you hippies, he's out there in the ether. Sacco, 7 minutes late. 7 minutes left in the show. 53 minutes late for your call. Thank you so much for true Sacco form.
No, hang on a second. Here's the deal.
What
We did
happened
lock
was-
him up. We did lock him up in the cage for just for old time's sake, and it took a little bit longer for him to get out. Than
Well, he's out of
expected.
practice.
Just like old time's
He's out of
sake.
practice.
Yeah.
How you doing, buddy?
You know, I just walked in the rain, cold, wet. Oh, I smell like wet dog, but, you know, okay.
Well, I mean,
or wet Yeti.
I was gonna say,
Either
have,
one.
have you been using that new Fresh Mane shampoo that we've sent you?
Yeah, the main shampoo worked out great. And the shavers, they broke the first day. Like, I just, like, put it on me.
Well, and the problem is
in
we
one stroke.
we had to buy bulk, and we bought it from China. So
we did, and we didn't use the good industrial sheep shears like we have got for you, that we have here in the studio for
Nice.
you. Yeah,
How you guys doing?
We're doing well. We're missing you. I'll
We
tell
miss
you
you.
what. Since you've left, Clint and I have essentially turned on each other.
Wait, I thought you guys put the blow-up doll in my place.
Well, yeah.
Yeah, but Sean took that home, and I haven't seen it since. He keeps ordering patch kits
when I
online.
leave in
Hang
here-
on a second.
No, when I leave in here, there's a hole in it every week.
No, he's not on chat roll. He's actually on Amazon buying tire patch kits. It's bizarre. Every week they get delivered here to the
Do you
studio.
know how quickly the little rubber gasket and bike pumps go?
You're not supposed to bite the neck on that thing. We've had this talk.
All right. You guys got 5 minutes left in the show, but really 2.
I love how he just shows up and starts friggin' telling us what
I
we're
know.
going to do.
I know.
Right? All of a
You
sudden,
actually have 2 because you got a 3-minute play out, and
all of a sudden he's a producer again. Hey guys, gonna wrap it up. Just so you know, it's the wrap it up music.
Sean, hit that button right there. No, not that one. No, not that one. That one.
Hey, Sacco, real quick. The reason I wanted to call you and talk to you earlier was regarding Apple and its ability to decrypt phones. Do they have the software?
Do they have the software built? No.
You don't believe so?
No.
Okay.
Can they build it? Sure.
And what's the difference, in your opinion, to them? Is it one of those things where they're like, no, we don't have it, wink, wink, nudge, nudge? You can't tell me that one of those geeks didn't turn around and be like, oh, no, I need to do this just so I could do it.
No, because Apple's very tight-knit on everything they do, and they have been preaching privacy since day one, essentially. So just imagine if it was created and they get leaked out, and then now their phones are not secure. Now enterprise companies won't buy it for their businesses, and they'll go with some other off-brand that is secure. And it'll just trickle down. So, well, if this isn't secure, what about the computers? And what if the computers aren't secure? What about this and that? And then you lose your name and you lose the money that is, put into your business and all that. So, for them to create something like that would just be shooting themselves in the foot, and I think they're smarter than that. So, I don't think they will create it. Do they have the ability to do it? Absolutely. They're a software company. It's their own hardware and their own software. They can do whatever they want and build a tool like that. It would be very simple to push out an update that says, oh, punch your passcode in to unlock your phone after this update, and then boom, you've unencrypted your phone just by as easy as that by punching your password, not knowing that you're unencrypting your phone. And they're just them not just prompting you, telling you, hey, this is happening, by the way.
Okay.
It's very easy to do something like that and just trick your customers into doing something, or even build it on the back end. That will be a little bit harder and it'll take a little bit longer. But it's just that why would they do it knowing that every software company wants to be as secure as possible, because if you're not secure, then nobody wants to buy you.
Okay, so you don't think there's a magic button somewhere where if they needed to, they could just do it, they could just get right in?
No.
Okay. Okay. I'm gonna say I disagree. I know you have the inside knowledge, and I don't. But I just think that as a company, they have it there because they may fear that they would need it for someday for something else. So I can't imagine.
What?
Same paranoia that runs a lot of people is you always have to be able to control your software all the way around, right?
There's to some degree to where you won't be able to control it.
Right.
If you were able to control it, you wouldn't have if you have complete control, then you should never have issues with your software, right? But
True.
Yet, people who have complete control always have issues and that's why there's updates and patches.
Well, I can't imagine for the life of me that they wouldn't. But I respect your opinion. Like I said, you work there. I didn't. You know.
Well, no, Sean, I don't respect your opinion. So
there you go, Sacco.
You little dirtbag. The next time I see
pulled a
you.
Clint on you. How do you feel?
Hey, this is a tech geek argument. I'm sitting back eating popcorn.
Yeah, you notice
I'm just
you didn't say anything.
Nope, nothing. I'm like, I don't even know what you're talking about.
Oh, man.
Like, I have a phone, and that's it. I can play Yahtzee on it.
Hello. And they can send me money for my funds of living in this lovely San Francisco area.
We miss you too. Hey, Sacco.
Yeah.
We do have to wrap up, as you so politely pointed out. Are you going to come up and visit sometime soon? We have a nice warm seat here for you. Going to get a whole show in.
You know, I'm going to Vegas this week, and then next week.
Oh, you're breaking up. You're breaking up.
Oh,
No, I'm just kidding. I'm kidding. Go ahead.
I'll be all over the place, but sometime in April, I'm down to come down.
All right.
Are you going to Freedom Fest this year with us?
Possibly.
Whoa.
Not. Or possibly? I don't know yet. We'll find out.
That is an unconfirmed confirmation.
Right.
By Sacco himself about Freedom Fest in July. Sacco, thank you so much. We miss you, buddy.
I miss you guys.
We'll talk to you soon. All right, pal?
Take care, brother.
See you.
Sackhead Sacco, sharing his opinion. That's it here for the Sackheads Radio Show live on the SHR Media Network. We'll be back next Wednesday at 11
I'm
o'clock.
making a note.
East, 8 Pacific. Make sure you check out all the other amazing shows here on the Sackheads, on the Sackheads Radio Show and the SHR Media Network. It's going to be that type of night, folks. We will talk to you very soon. Good. Are you actually showing me that you wrote it down?
You don't even know what I wrote down. You have no idea what I wrote. Good night, America.
The best late-night conservative talk show in America, Sackheads Radio. And listen, there are no people better on the air to give you the best in conservative talk than Sackhead Sean and Sackhead Clint. And we're working on the immigration papers for a certain other guy who happens to work here, too. For those who are tuning in around the world to the best late-night conservative talk, Sackheads Radio.
Hack news. Hack news.
Radio.
Hack news. Hack news.
Radio.
Sack.
The best late-night conservative talk show in America. In America.
In America.
And in this web was a large, I'm pretty sure it was the biggest spider I've ever seen.